Texas, Tokyo, and has a PhD from Anna University. From collector and secretary to principal secretary of environment and forests, revenue and disaster management, and chairman of major public sector institutions across transportation, power, industry, and infrastructure, he has also led inquiries into forest fire tragedies and disaster relief frameworks, giving him not just policy insight but lived administrative experience of ecological crisis. He is also a powerful literary voice in environment, authoring books such as Oxygen Manifesto, A Battle for the Environment, Vultures of Paradise, and Testimony by Fire, works that blend governance, warning, and moral urgency. We are glad to have you here with us, sir. Can we give him a huge round of applause? In conversation with him is Dr. Seema Raizada ji, Professor of English at Maharani Lakshmibai Government Girls PG College, Bhopal, a scholar whose engagement with literature goes far beyond classroom. She is the author of Double Vision of Shakespeare and the founder of Club Literati, one of India's most respected reading and creative platforms. As editor-in-chief of Inkpad, a literature and arts and a force behind Shakespeare Festival in Bhopal, Dr. Raizada ji brings to this conversation the rare ability to interpret crisis not only through policy and data, but through language, culture, ethics, and of human responsibility. This dialogue is going to be enriching, it is going to be imaginative, and it is going to be a wake-up call for us. The earth is speaking, but are we listening? We have to start listening, and they are going to teach us how. So over to you, sir, over to you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Can we have a huge round of applause for them?
Thank you. Welcome to the 8th edition of PLF, Dr. Atulya Misra. We are glad to have you here and talk about something which is, I would say it is, it deals with the crisis, the ecological crisis that we face, and it's not a very ordinary crisis. It is something that we have to look into it urgently. We are all aware of what's happening to India in terms of the ecology, the air and water pollution, resource depletion, deforestation, climate change. We have actually we are nursing something which is a big sore. So we have amongst us Dr. Atulya Misra, who has written books on ecology. He has published research articles in scientific journals, and he has a big research background, and also in terms of his postings. And he's a bureaucrat, and he belongs to the Tamil Nadu cadre, so he has a rich experience in that capacity too. So I would like to know from you, Dr. Misra, how did writing happen to you? And when did you realize you had the potential to publish? So was there any initial, I would say, push, inspiration or aspiration in your years of college or school, or something that happened at home? So what is that kind of journey that you would like to talk about?
First of all, thank you for the organizers of the Bhopal Literature Festival, and thank you, Seema ji, for being here with me. Today amongst the audience, there's a schoolmate of mine, Mr. Shashi Kapoor, and I thank you for coming all the way and listening to me.
Dr. Misra, I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, Dr. Misra, I'm glad to tell you that he has studied in Sandhya School, Gwalior, and he has connection with Madhya Pradesh.
So, talking about writing, basically, first thing which happened to us was exposure to sound literature. In the school, you have a trajectory, and I went into the trajectory of dramatics and debates and elocution. And the school used to have a culture of bringing up mega plays. So we started with Meghdut from Kalidas. We did Andha Yug by Dharmabir Bharti. Then we did Animal Farm by George Orwell. So at that age, very serious literature, very sound literature was being conveyed to us. Then I came to college and studied and forgot most about drama, debates. UPSC is again a very interesting exam. I remember that there were 2 exams, one after the other, and in 48 hours, I was writing for 12 hours. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So it's kind of a writing marathon. So your muscles get used to it and you have a muscle memory for writing. So writing doesn't trouble you. This was the second thing which happened. Then when I got into service, after my initial years in service, I was posted to Delhi. Upmanyu Chatterjee's room used to be very close to my room. And whenever I used to pass through his room, he was in, he was in active service, in novels. One of his novel, English August, had been already converted into a film. It was cinematographed. We had Vikas Saroop, who had written The Slumdog Millionaire, which became, at that time it was called Q&A, and then later became a very big movie. I was introduced to, in the academy to Devdutt Patnaik. When he came to the university, I was a escort officer. So I spent time with him. Then Jeffrey Archer came to Chennai. And in those days, there were not many literature festivals. So there used to be individual authors coming. And Tamil Nadu, Madras used to be a hub of literary activities. So he asked us a question, while promoting his book, that how many of you want to write a novel? So many hands were raised, and I probably also rose, my hand also raised. Then he asked, how many of you have written the first page of your novel? And I think that was a very threatening question, because we want to do something, but we are not doing it. So then I came to Teddy University. There was a requirement to write a play. I was again a student, so I was writing a play. And I wrote 3 plays after that. And those 3 plays could never be published because, you require at least 30,000 words to publish a manuscript. Then when I came back, I wrote Oxygen Manifesto in 2018. Then Vultures of Paradise, which was a little later. And now my latest book is Testimony by Fire. And one more book has been published, which is little on a, not so much on the environmental area.
So your 2 books, Oxygen Manifesto, which came out in 2019, and Vultures of Paradise in 2021, they set the ball rolling for this book, Testimony by Fire. Now, your professional life, the postings, you being a bureaucrat, how much did this help in writing these books? And was there an added advantage to you by way of access to material, to the kind of situation that we have in across the country, and also some of the possible policies that you were, a kind of part of it, or you could think of some solutions, during that time of research that you spent on writing these books?
I feel that writing is basically an extension of your own life. So you cannot write about things which you have not experienced. It is very difficult that way. So I was a student of life science, and in those days when I went to college, many of us were drawn towards leftist ideology, because that used to be the way Delhi University functioned, JNU functioned. And I was a part of the Narmada Bachao movement. So that is the first thing I got exposed to, how migration, but that was still, the social aspect of environment. But there were conversations around it. Then I went in the districts. Then I did a PhD. My PhD topic was on carbon trading and carbon footprints. So again, I was back to environment. Then I became the Environment and Forest Secretary, and I became the chairman of Pollution Control Board. This all taught me a lot of ecology, environment, but it was my tenure in the disaster management which actually brought the issues of and how urgent it is to address these issues. So that is how it was, and I have worked in tribal development, I have worked in social welfare. So these are the areas in which I worked. And when I went to Yale and Texas at that time, the paradigm of sustainable development was coming out. And they were a concept that just as we have economic growth, economic development, social development, there has to be some index for the environmental development also. So I work for that. Jeffrey Sachs was a very renowned person who was canvassing for it. And all this brought me, very systematically to write about environment.
So, Dr. Atulya, I mean, as I said, that probably being in, in the services gave you that advantage in terms of material, access to material, etc. But do you think that it came with a baggage also? Because, when you are in the, part of the government, then, when you're writing, you have to be very, very cautious about certain things. And especially in this particular area, in terms of, when people are the direct, they could be beneficiaries, they could be sufferers. So when it comes to an issue like environment, ecology, there are certain malpractices, there are certain, the points of concerns, there's resistance. So being a bureaucrat and writing on an issue like this, so did at any point you felt that what you're writing should not write, or what was that? Was there a tussle between the crusader in you, if I may say so, and a bureaucrat, a person who would probably execute those policies made by the government? So what was this whole process? I mean, how would you view this as a very complimentary act, or an act where there is constant conflict? And maybe, a few times, you have to erase the things, the tussle between fact and fiction. And yes, you chose fiction to present your views on ecology and environment and, of such concerns, magnitude.
In a way, fiction is the savior because you are not naming anybody. But sincerely, in Indian politics, the environmental agendas are to be formulated. There's no political party which is having an environmental agenda. Our political parties, our administration is environment blind. So they are not concerned. So when not concerned, you are not going against anybody. So there is a huge amount of inaction rather than saying that you act in this way to damage environment and they want you to damage environment. It is not like that. It is just that we are not acting against what is correct for the environment. For example, I'll talk about the economic policy. This water bottle is lying in front of me. If I add the cost of recycling the bottle to the bottle may cost 50 rupees. But we are not doing it, we are not concerned. And we are not doing it because our packaging industry is also there. But if the government decides that the cost of recycling, cost of rehabilitating the environment will also be added, then this, the bottle makers may find some alternates. There will be somebody who will come up with a paper kind of a bottle or something else. So I have a feeling that the politics in India and the bureaucracy in India and the corporates of India are not taking environment as seriously as it has to be taken. And something advocating on, doing some advocacy for environment doesn't hit anybody, because even the civic society is more moving towards growth and development. And I have never felt any kind of a challenge in advocating environmental issues.
So I think what we understand is that there's a lack of will on the part of the government, and probably some practical problems that may not be, they are not spelled out very, very openly. But at the same time, what we understand from the facts and from the fiction that you have written, that there's a huge amount of loss that is happening, not in terms of natural resources, but human resources, of human lives, and what we probably are facing every single second as we speak here, as we sit here. We do not know how many people are losing their lives because of there is this threat to our environment, to the basic amenities, to the basic resources that we are, as free individuals, as citizens of a country, we have all a right to get the right kind of facilities and a right to inhale clean air, right to drink clean water. So this book, coming to this book, Testimony by Fire, this is the book, it's so beautifully written by Dr. Misra. And it's, of course, it's a blend of fiction and non-fiction, because the places, Dr. Misra, they are real. There is this, you mentioned the president who lives in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Then there are places, there are like monuments, there are streets. I mean, this protagonist who walks across the country, this protagonist whose name is Ranji. Now, he is a fictional character, but you make him traverse through lands, through places that are real. Now, how does this format help you in, bringing out such an evocative piece of writing which talks of facts? So this blend, does it help you to write, or does it suit you to bring out this book with a concern, with a purpose?
The story is fabricated around real characters, real places. It is born out of an inquiry where, what happened was there was a forest fire in Tamil Nadu in 2018 in Kurangi forest. There was a set of girls, many of them were from IITs and many of them were from very, good colleges. They were students. They wanted to celebrate the Women's Day. They went with a group to a trek. I think it was a very innocent act. And there was a fire in the forest, and out of 39 girls, 20 perished. So it was a very, very sad incident, and I was made the inquiry officer. So the book has actually in and around that fire incident, but giving a textual, descript of the fire accident, I don't think it would have been of great interest to people at large. And then, in the government, what happens is, we have 112 aspirational districts. We have 500 aspirational blocks spread over 329 districts. So when I call something like aspirational block, I mean that the conditions in those blocks are worse than sub-Saharan Africa. So there is an India living with us, which is in a very bad shape. It is worse than Ethiopia. So somebody has to talk about that India. So this person, when he moves around, he goes to that part of India. India which is victim of insurgency, India which is victim of neglect, India where there's no hope, people living under despair, there's no employment, no government functioning. So that is the India which he moves. So it was a combination of my desire to talk about India which is being missed out, and also about a fire accident which was not so much made by nature, but because of human follies.
So you mentioned in your book, when this president this boy actually. He's a tribal boy, travel guide to begin with, but goes on to become the president of the nation. So after he dies, he gets up from his pyre, walks as a metaphor probably, as a symbol of something spiritual, who would traverse along the most not likable parts of the country. And he, as you say, his journey, it's a very dramatic start to his journey into the raw, uncharted territories where few dared to go. That is how you put it. So this figure is almost like a metaphor, as I said, and also an allegory. I mean, you mentioned you read Animal Farm. So how much of allegory, how much of this, this person, Ranji, who becomes such an inspirational character, but at the same time, he could be taken to be as an illusion. Now he is working towards drawing attention of the readers in that process to something which probably he, as a writer of this concerns regarding the ecology and environment, he would do. So I think I see some kind of similarity, between your interest as an author and this character Ranji. How would you look at it?
Actually, wandering has been a part of Indian culture. So there had been large number of wanderers, and many of you may not be knowing there was a book written by Surjit Singh Barnala. What he did was, he was, after being the Chief Minister of Punjab, he came to be the governor of Tamil Nadu. And one day what he did was, he simply asked for that. He's going to Punjab, he used to quite often go there, simply sat in a truck and moved around India. So these kind of things have happened in India actually, that the politician, just wants to be in touch with the people. So he sits in a truck and then, he wanders around. He went all the way up to Punjab in that truck and then wrote a small book also about it. So what I'm saying is that Mahatma Gandhi's marches, Mahatma Gandhi going in the third class train compartment on those days. Even lately, a lot of Padyatras are being organized. Chandrasekhar ji organized a Padyatra. So this has been part and parcel of the...
difference, I would say, because Ranji's path is totally different from the path taken by the Yatras today.
So what I thought was that if really a person goes for a Yatra with an intent, what could be the effect of those Yatras? So if there is, some politician who suddenly decides after finishing his innings, not while he's in the game of politics, to take a Yatra like this, what will be the impact it will have on the country? So that is the idea, in a finer way. For example, once a person of the caliber of our Prime Minister, if, after his retirement, he says that I'll walk across India, what will be the impact of that? So that is, even Mahatma Gandhi, he simply said that I'll walk to Navakhali. He said, I don't believe in what you say as the partition between India and Pakistan. He said that I'll walk from Gujarat to Navakhali. Unfortunately, while he was walking to Navakhali, he was killed. So if that experiment would have happened, if Mahatma Gandhi, with his counterage, would have actually walked into Pakistan as a free citizen and Pakistan would have not been able to arrest him, there would have been a different India and Pakistan today.
So another thing which I would like to tell our audience, that when Ranji was, this Ranji who gets up from his pyre and walk across the country, while he was the president, he did something very unconventional. What he would do, that he would, because, we all know presidents are, they are ornamental when it comes to, some kind of execution. So the president, I think Ranji was a very smart person that way. What he did, he would invite the MPs, Member of Parliament from the remotest part of the country, to have morning tea with him. And in that conversation, during that period, he would know from them what is ailing that part of their constituency. And all those things that probably would never have reached him while he sat in his chair as president. So, and to know from you, and what he did, after, when he was put on his pyre and there's this fire and he gets up from the pyre and walks across. So what I could sense that while, he visited all these places, those were probably the places that he hadn't, he had talked about these places to those MPs, those problems that India was facing. So could that be one thing? And also please tell us about the fire, the symbol of fire.
I used to, watch these the parliamentary proceedings very closely. Sometimes we used to sit in the officers' gallery also and watch the MPs speak. But surprisingly, they are always be talking about their political agendas. Not much talk happens about the constituencies. You might have felt it if you watch the Rajya Sabha TV or a Lok Sabha TV. Across the party lines, I'm not saying about one single party. Across the party lines, the MPs are basically talking about issues which are slightly distant from their constituencies. So this is one thing which I thought that probably the president can do it. He can keep calling the MPs and talk to them about non-politically, about their constituencies, about what can be done and what should be done, and create a memoir. So that is what it was done. And to some extent, when I think of Ranji as a president, I'm also reminded of Mr. Abdul Kalam. I worked in his state, I interacted with him. So once I had gone with MOS Railways to meet Mr. Abdul Kalam. And Mr. Abdul Kalam was very nice to him, and they talked for a long time because it was non-political. And next time, this MP was also young MP, and he was a young Minister of State. So next time, when his political mentor came, he said, I will take you to Mr. Abdul Kalam, and I will, he was very, because he was treated so very well. So next time when we went, Mr. Abdul Kalam gave us 2 minutes. Standing, he met us. Standing, we went away. So what I was saying, when it came to politics, he did not encourage us. Wherein it came to any other issue about, even talking about Tamil culture or about Pongal or anything else, he was ready to talk. So the point is, such things have happened in my presence. So I felt that there could be a president who can talk to the MPs and document the real issues of the constituencies, which are not finding place in the parliaments.
Absolutely. I mean, this book is actually, it has 27 chapters, beautifully structured to describe the problems or the scenes, of miseries. So as we are taken to Mumbai's lifelines. He mentions Mumbai's lifelines. And what are these? We know. Any guesses? Dharavi. Dharavi is one. Mumbai's suburban trains, dabbawalas, and film industry. So these are the places that are visited, and they are, they are visited by Ranji and the followers. There is a huge crowd always there following him because, that is how he, Dr. Misra has made the entire yatra look like that. Yes, he is not alone. There are people following him, people who are really concerned about their country. So this is beautiful. And then there are places where he finds calm too. Mumbai disturbs him. He calls Goa beautiful mess. So there are of course slums and where there is garbage, there is drainage problems. So if you permit, Dr. Misra, I would like to read to you the few lines from this chapter which describes this misery beautifully. Ranji's path led us through places most would rather forget. We passed towns hollowed by mining, hillsides ripped open, rivers clogged with silt. We walked through land swallowed by dams, where whole villages had vanished beneath water. There people shuffled off to resettlement colonies, rows of concrete boxes with no soul. The people we met in these places carried a shared weariness. They were unmoved, rootless, their pasts dissolved. Their children played in the dust, their laughter quick and piercing, as if they had inherited the ache without understanding it. These were the sacrificed, the one modern India had cast aside for mines, for dams, for the shining towers of its new cities. Their voices had been silenced. The slums were alive in a way that was both beautiful and brutal. This is how he writes. Narrow lanes. And look at this beautiful description of slums. I don't think I have read anywhere such a comprehensive description of people living in subhuman, inhuman conditions. Narrow lanes twisted between shacks patched together from tin, tarp, and hope. Houses leaned against each other, their walls thin as paper, their roofs sagging under the weight of time. Children darted through the alleys, chasing each other with sticks. Women crouched over buckets, scrubbing clothes in murky water from a shared tap. Men sat in doorways, hammering metal, stitching torn cloth, their hands moving with a rhythm born of necessity. Everywhere life pulsed messy, loud and unyielding. Garbage heaps rose like hills, buzzing with flies spilling into the lanes. A sluggish drainage ditch snaked along the side, thick and black. Some homes doubled as workshops, sewing machines whirring, plastic bags rustling. Quacks peddled remedies, tuition centers clung to fading signs, and boys lifted rusted weights in a one-room gym, their grunts echoing in the gloom. It was a world, see how beautifully he sums up, it was a world stacked on itself, every inch claimed, every breath shared. So beautifully written, and
Thank you.
when I read this, this is what I feel about India. You know, we always talk of nature's plenty. Now this is the stuff, I would say it is writer's plenty. You can have enormous, huge amount of literature that can be written on this. And now this is how the wounds, the scars, and the sores that define India that bleeds now. How do you look at it? And this is actually, a very, very, I was touched reading this.
Thank you for that. We met in Chennai port where I was the chairman. So, you go to the port. Mostly people go by road. They will sit in the car and just have a round of the port. That is one way of looking into the port. Then there is another way of seeing the same port. That is, you sit in a railway wagon and get into the cargo area. That is another port. You will find these two ports very different. And then there is another way to reach the port, and that is to go by the ship and the steamer. You go into the waterways. And that port is completely different. So what I'm saying is the same place where you exist. You go by walking, it is different. You go by cycle, it is different. You go by in a car, it is different. You go by a railway line, it is different. You go by a ship, it is different. So the same thing applies here. India is a very unique kind of a country. You have a mean density of around 439 people per square kilometer. But you see the range. There are areas where there are only 17 people per square kilometer. And there are places like Dharavi where you have 2.5 lakh people, the highest in the world, living per square kilometer. So this is a very interesting country, very unique country, and you have to see these, being in the IAS, I got this opportunity to get into the households of the people. And how I got that, because you go as an election observer, you can get into a house and ask them that do you have a voting card. This is part of your duty. Otherwise, you don't get chance, an opportunity to get into houses of people. I'm sure many of you have homemaids, and these women come from areas which are a little more difficult to live in. Many of you might have never gone to their houses. You may not be actually knowing whether they have a TV. You may not be actually knowing whether they have a fridge. And you'll be surprised, sometimes they'll be more prosperous than what you think. And sometimes they'll be in a very, very difficult situation. So what I want to say is India has to be walked on, it has to be seen. The maximum outreach we have today is maybe India has some 543 MPs, India has some 250 in Rajya Sabha, all MLAs put together 5,000, all Panchayati Raj, all your ULBs put together, we are only dealing with some 30 lakh people with whom we have interaction. This is what India is for us out of the 1.47 billion people we are living with. So even as an IS officer, my reach is to 0.1% of the Indian population. So that is what and how India has to be looked at.
So how does it strike a chord with the scene that we have in this book, I mean the stats that you have, how does it strike a chord with the idea of Viksit Bharat? When we talk about, I mean the pages take us nowhere. I mean how do we visualize India 25 years from now, let's say in 2047? And one more last question, and then of course because we are running out of time. What's your message to the youth? And the kind of awareness that all this needs. I would like to add, just to this and end with your reply. We don't see much of awareness and programs regarding these issues. We don't see that kind of urgency. Because when we see what kind of buzz it makes on social media, how many hashtags, have we ever had any hashtags regarding this, something that is, this is as this urgent? What do you feel can be done, and how do we look at this crisis?
I will very briefly tell 2047, nobody can predict anything. We can't even predict whether there will be a world war this year. So it's very difficult to predict anything, but what I understand from the way we are moving, we'll be wealthier. There's no qualms about it. We'll be an older nation. Today our mean age is around 28 years. We will certainly be around 35 to 36 years at that time. So you will have lesser younger people. You will have more older people. You will have more lonelier people. You will have people for whom virtual life and real life will become very, very similar.
Clean water to drink, because we just had this awful tragedy happening in Indore.
And now coming to the environment, this is on a very, very broader scale. Already we are seeing major destructions happening. The summers are getting warmer, the winters are getting colder, and most of the rains you get is in very few days and very harsh rains. So all that is happening, the water table is getting down. Now people are coming out of home after seeing the AAQ in Delhi. Many of the Delhi friends are here. They are not seeing the temperature, they are looking at the AAQ when they come out. So that itself is a pointer to very difficult times ahead of us. And there are solutions. Now you say that what is my message to the youth? My message of youth, there's the inner circle and an outer circle. On an inner circle, each one of us have to do our own advocacy. We should waste our food. We should be low-key votes. We should use less plastic. We should, be little minimalistic. Each T-shirt, if you start the amount of water which it uses, probably you will wear lesser T-shirts. You will buy lesser things from Amazon. All this is one part. But the more important part, the bigger part, is that we have to vote governments which are concerned about environment. We have to probably make AAQ as a parameter, because there are certain things which individuals can't do. Individuals can't create roads. Individuals cannot create law and order. Individuals cannot create good environment. It has to be done by governments. It has to be done by policymakers. It has to be done by technocrats, by corporates. They have to all come together. And what is in our hand? That we should go for people who have green agenda. So, which is just not there in the country today. So this is my message and this is my hope from youth.
Thank you so much for such an interesting session, sir. We'll now open the floor for some questions for the authors.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Misra, a wonderful exposition. As she perhaps hinted, Ranjit is either you or your extension. So seeing through the eyes of Ranjit, how would you address two of the pressing issues of environment today, both immediate and long-term? One is that you mentioned AQI, and the other is polluted water. How would you address them, seen through Ranjit's eyes?
The basic format of, which people talk about is reuse, reduce, and recycle. These are the three things you can do. And again, why I created a political figure who is, moving around and trying to create advocacy, not by telling anything, but by being silent and just going there. So my feeling is that the government resources, ecology and economy have to come together. You cannot have economy without devoid of ecology. You cannot have corporates devoid of environmental responsibilities. So there are no quick fix, Nobody can clean water in a day, nobody can clean air also in a day. But my advocacy has been that there has to be more green agenda, and it has already started. Today, in Delhi, for example, environmental concerns are a major concern for the political party in power. And if the political parties are not able to, figure it out, they will find it to be a major challenge in the next elections. So I have a feeling that already things are happening, but they have to happen very quickly, and this is a very urgent requirement. And if we are little complacent and we keep applying our mind to other vagaries which are also important, we may miss out to a situation where there will be a very bad future for our citizens. And Earth, we are just taking it for granted. There had been there had been times when human populations have been reduced to 1/10 of their, total population at that time. So I just hope and I wish that we don't create a situation like that for ourselves.
I'm really sorry, we're really short in time. We have our sessions back to back. The audience, if they want to talk to the authors, they can meet them in the authors' lounge outside or in the courtyard. Okay, on ma'am's request, we'll take one last question.
Thank you, sir. Seeing a distinguished career in the central government and the state government, how do you look upon the world when leaders attend summits like the COP29 and the likes, but on the government level or on the state level, they, whatever promises they are making, it's either really slow or we are not able to see them on a ground level. Thank you, sir.
Look, today the greatest environmental catastrophe can be caused by a war. It is not by, the smaller acts which we are doing, but by a war. So the polity, the international polity, has to work in a way that they avoid confrontation. It is very difficult, but very necessary that we avoid confrontations. And coming out of, this again an international arena, there could be some reasons, some political reasons, supremacy of dollar being challenged by certain nations, so you back out by doing certain other things. But larger than this, I think even the populace of those countries which are trying to dominate have started realizing that that is not the way forward. So already there are protests against a very confrontationist attitude and about not being cooperational in international affairs.
Thank you so much, guests. Can we have a huge round of applause for our guests today? That was definitely a wake-up call for our audience. We often talk about climate change as a distant statistic, but today, through testimony by fire, we felt the heat of the reality we were facing. It was a stark reminder that crisis is not coming, it is already here. A profound thank you to Dr. Atulya Misra sir for his urgent and insightful words, and to Dr. Seema Raizada ma'am for guiding this conversation with the sensitivity and the depth it demanded. You have given us all a lot to reflect on regarding our duty to this planet. To honor our guests who are fighting the good fight for our environment, I would like to invite Meenakshi Duaji, a founding member of the Society for Culture and Environment, to join us on stage to present the festival memento. There has never been a more appropriate memento for a session on ecology like this one. This is the BLF 2026 memento. The legendary Padma Shri Durga Bai created this artwork especially for BLF 2026. It features a little Golraiya, a story of devotion. A tiny bird loved by Bangsu is transformed into the tribal god Buradev into a beautiful maiden bringing joy to him. Can we have a huge round of applause?
I just request for a half a minute of time. You were talking of how we can make positive changes. Very smallly, a small thing that I want to reflect on. My maid, 2 years back, told me that instead of giving and spending on the dowry or any party for her daughter, she's accumulated 3 lakhs and has given her a apartment or a small house. So you see the awareness and finding solutions to problems. So the problems are there, will be there. Maybe we see bleakness in that. But among that also, we see awareness coming even at that level. So it was such a beautiful thing for me, so I thought I'd share.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful closing thought.